What's going on, everybody? Justin Thomas here. This is YouTube Confidential, where we talk about YouTube as a platform. I talk to fellow content creators. So I will say right away, if you are tuning into this to hear specifically about Game of Thrones or Westworld or anything like that, that unfortunately, that's not what we're going to be talking about this one time. I'm literally always speaking about those things every other minute of the day and usually always online. So I am really happy because not only is this my first segment, it's something I'm proud of and it's still very intriguing to me. Content creation can be frustrating. It can be the most rewarding aspect of your life all at the same time. And I think there's a lot of issues that come along with being on YouTube that you guys as viewers might not know if you haven't created content before. And I really like to dive into it, especially with somebody that is not only is experienced, but is honest, is the man that's joining me today.
Thank you very much. What's the deal, my people? You know it is the Don Tony Teflon, and I'm back at you, and I'm chilling here with my man Justin. You know what I mean? YouTube Confidential. Thank you for having me on. And as he said, usually, the Don Tony Teflon, we be getting into all that theory stuff and theory craft, and then we're going to talk about that, but not about actually the theories themselves, just about what goes into making them, coming up with them, and everything else that goes on behind the scenes in YouTube, and my ups and downs myself of why I started, why I continue, and hopefully it's enjoyable for you. All I can say to you is that I will be 100% honest for my perspective of everything. Everything always has two sides to a coin, so I can only give you my perspective and what I know and what affects me. So I guarantee you that from my perspective, I 100% honesty right now coming from the Don without a shadow of a doubt.
We have him hooked up to a lie detector. No, Tony is somebody that I was very excited to have on for this segment in particular because of how honest you come off in your videos. Now, we just met. We just did a live stream maybe, 2 weeks ago or something like that on Game of Thrones. So we don't know each other on a personal level, really very much at all. But what I've gotten from your content is that you are a creator that truly does indulge in the discussion, not just with who you're live streaming with, but also when you're doing your individual videos with your fans, your subs, your viewers. How did you approach when you first created your channel? What did you want to achieve? I always find that to be interesting, since we usually, especially since you've been doing it for 5 years, how much have you strayed, or have you stuck to what you originally conceived as the idea for your channel? What you want people to walk away from after they watch a Tony Teflon video?
All right, so it's hard. It's hard to exactly say exactly what I was thinking, but I'll break it down for you exactly how my mindset at the time. So I'm from Queens, New York. You know what I mean? I grew up there, born and raised there. And a lot of people I hung out with, were, not a lot of people did, Game of Thrones type, Dungeons and Dragons type situations like that. But a couple of people that I hung out with did. I played Marvel Superheroes role-playing game. And I played that for many years of my life. My father was a fencer. All right, he fenced all in high school and fenced in college. He was 6'6", and he's a fencer, black guy from a Marcy Project fencer. So I always had swords and fencing. And my dad, I was little, I would come around the corner, and my dad would lunge at me, ha ha ha, you had to be quick on your toes and parry and stuff like that. When he went on his honeymoon with my mom, they went to Spain specifically so he can get swords from over there. So I've always had swords, and I've always had this like feel of medieval Game of Thrones type situation, like love of that type genre. I used to watch Sinbad movies with my father and everything else. So I was always into that, but a lot of my friends weren't. So when the Game of Thrones thing had started, I had really no one to talk to about it. I had no one at all from anywhere that I knew that I could talk to about it. And I had so much to say, but I had no one to talk to. So after watching History of Westeros and seeing them, and I just heard what they had to say, I wanted to be a part of starting a conversation, because they were touching on topics that I wanted to talk about. So I started my channel solely to meet people to talk about Game of Thrones. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do anything else. I just wanted to give what I thought about it and talk to other people and hear what they thought about it. But then when you get into that, you start realizing, people ain't so nice when you come up with these things. And then after a while, when you get better at making videos and you have to start editing these videos. And because when I first did it, it was just me sitting in front of the camera, just shooting off the hip. But then when you have to edit the videos, and people came like Preston Jacobs and Shipdold X, who basically made you step the game up because they were doing a lot of high quality editing, you start realizing how much time it's going into this video. So now it's hard to say, like I said, I would like it just to talk to people. But with the amount of time I have to put in to produce a video, it could no longer be that. I have to look at it as also like a job, a second job. So that's what it has become, a good second job, but a job nonetheless.
So you feel that you have made a point to become more of an authority on the topic in the conversation because you realize that that is the general appeal. Obviously, people do come to, Game of Thrones, Westworld, whatever the particular series is. I feel that there's a gap in it. I feel that the creators a lot of times don't even know where they fall within that gap or don't even think about it, whether they're a actual expert or authority on the issue, or if they're just a very, very passionate fan of the series, because both can make a engaging, entertaining channel. But some people are presenting a educated opinion stance on a topic, and other people are just strictly opening up a conversation. Do you feel that you forced yourself to maybe do more research? Had you read the books originally? Are to become more of a authority on the topic rather than just a part of the conversation, to be leading the conversation and even proposing where the conversation is going to be going with theory videos and aspects like that?
I think I do both. I think I am. So if I'm unique in that way, or I put myself in, I think I'm both. I didn't start off to come in this game as an expert, or really don't even try. That's a crazy word for me to even think of it like that. But give people something to think about, but not in a boring way. I'm not trying to feel like I'm smarter than someone. I'm talking down to someone, or because I have read the books and someone hasn't read the books, that I know more than you. And even if I do know more about a certain topic, only because that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you not knowing the books. It may not matter that you don't know that. You may not need to know that. You could pick up on certain other things that other people that read the book, it doesn't matter.
Because I don't believe that's what you are. I believe that
never.
It's become an issue with content creation, because now somebody like me that has stepped into the game 4 years after you had already stepped into it, it has already changed so much that you have to really approach it in a way of, am I presenting my material to educate people? Because look at all these explain videos. Number one, I've never understood why so many people are willing to have pretty simplistic television shows explained to them in an age where words like mansplaining and all this empowerment is happening. Everybody wants that explain video. And I've even succumbed to something that we will talk about later in this segment, about changing some aspects of your channel in order to play the algorithm, in order to hope to rank with other people, so your content is not going under the radar, but might not really be within what you originally imagined for your channel, but you kind of got to play the game as well. Using the word explained in my titles, I don't like using it because it is a plot summary. I am summarizing. I'm doing a recap in some aspects, but everybody's using this word explained. Everybody wants everything explained to them now. I mean, you could explain a Tide channel. People are like, oh yeah. I don't assume that people are so stupid that they watch something and they need it explained to them. But I was getting more at, because I don't see your channel like that. I don't see you trying to act like, I think that you have become a very knowledgeable person in this area and people respect that, but you've never propped yourself up like that. From what I've seen, you do have conversations. I was wondering if you felt that you had to become somebody like that. Like we're talking about compromise, maybe your original ideology when it came to, your approach to content creation to fit a certain mold, because you spoke of Alt Shift X, Preston Jacobs. I mean, when you started in 2012, it was like Comic Book Girl 19 and like a few other people. And I think that the idea of reviewing movies and television on YouTube at that time was fairly new. I mean, it was mostly just for people. If you were doing a live stream, it was like a rant. It wasn't a intellectual conversation. It was more of just a soapbox for a lot of people, a lot of prank videos. I mean, it wasn't the same atmosphere that it is right now, where we have, some people who actually are intellectual elites and some people who are definitely not, but they pose as them. I don't feel you do that. I was just telling you before we went on air, I was, binge watching your channel and noticing that you're not afraid to be incorrect. But yeah, you are right about a lot of stuff too. But certain people don't play that. Certain people don't allow themselves to be incorrect on their channel.
I think that's a big problem with people, especially when it comes to theories and things like that. That people, it's one thing to come up with. I'll give you an example right now. When on a theory, when I came out with I have a theory. Now that whole thing right there, I have a theory, my theory. That's a whole nother segment, but that's a big issue too when dealing with Game of Thrones in this thing. Theory. Who came up with this? Who was the first person to say this? Who did that? Who did that? And that is really overblown a lot of the times too. Though there's problems there, but a lot of it is overblown. But it's like I came up. I had a theory when I first started. I said that the Valancourt, if you look at my videos back in like 14, the Valancourt is Stannis Baratheon. That was my initial thoughts. I thought the Valancourt was Stannis Baratheon. But years later, a couple of years down the road, when the Forsaken chapter was released, certain things made me push my thoughts away from Stannis. Now, I'm willing to admit, Stannis was my first pick. That was my theory. The next, Euron Greyjoy, I did not come up with Euron Greyjoy. I thought of Euron Greyjoy after Stannis Baratheon. Initially, it was Stannis. That's who I really thought. But because of what came out in the books, it made me shift that, hey, it's not going to be Stannis. Doesn't look like it's going to be him. It's going to be Euron. Now, a lot of people who have theories, even when the evidence comes out that proves their theories wrong, they're not willing to shift. They still want to fight it. They still want to sit there and tell you, no, you're wrong. It's going to be different in the books. It's going to be this way and that way. You got to just let shit go. You know what I mean? It's okay to be wrong. That's the only way to learn. Right? You can't learn if you're right all the time. You can only learn if you're wrong. You got to learn from mistakes. At least I do it. And that's what I would think of many people do. So it's okay. I'm not in this to get everything right. I never came into this to try to get everything right or to say that I've predicted more things or I've gotten a lot of theories more than ever. I didn't come into this for that. I came in here to have a discussion about it. Just so happens that I happen to get some predictions right and get some predictions wrong. It got some theories right and I get some theories wrong. That's just what life is, and that's what it is. That's the way it is.
Well, there's a big difference between knowing something and understanding something. And what you just described is somebody that is going to be understanding, or a method of somebody that is going to understand something, not just know it. Now, you thought you knew it was Stannis, but then evidence came out that you understood to make that not be correct. So like a, reasonable person, you went and you changed your hypothesis because you came to a different conclusion. Because the source material was telling you it was different. Other people are just going to go out and they're going to search for evidence to prove them right and try to ignore everything that disproves them and I think that, these people that are so focused on being correct, number one, if you're a YouTuber, they're always going to find a Redditor that has a timestamp that found it out before you did anyways and give it to them. And there's no point to, that type of content creation, at least in my opinion, but I think it has become very, very important for people to be correct or be the first. And there's a lot of lack of substance in content in order to be first. Being right isn't even important to them. They just want to be the first person to be saying something. Do you think that the game is drastically different as far as covering Game of Thrones from when you started? Do you think that because initially it was a question of people outside of traditional media shouldn't even be talking about this. Like, why is Chris Stuckerman or Jeremy Johns talking about movie reviews? Who are they? They're not the critics that we read in the trade. So it was just kind of groundbreaking in that way. Now it is, are we making video essays? Are we making opinion pieces? I think that anybody that is not a literal expert, which I think very few people should ever call themselves in these subject matters that we discuss, should ever refer to themselves as an expert. But we have to, figure out if we're putting out video essays or opinion pieces and how we're going about that. But I think that it became, should we even be talking about it? But now there's like 10 different ways to frame actually how we're talking about it. Do you think that it's changed that much since you've started?
Yeah, it's so much different. I mean, it's like I said, when I first started, you can see it. I don't even look at any video I first started. You could just, you get away with just holding a cell phone in front of you and just saying stuff. When I first started, I never thought that anyone would really, I didn't think anyone would really watch it. So I didn't really care. I thought maybe if 20 people, 30 people watched it, and I could have 10 people to talk to, or even 3 people just to talk to about what I said, then that's great. I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? I was dumb happy. When I remember when I hit like 300 subscribers, I couldn't even believe it. Why would you want to talk to me about this? I didn't realize what it was, how big it really was, how big the fandom was, and what it would become. I didn't see it. You know what I mean? I didn't start seeing that until Preston and Shift started coming, and they really started getting these views, and Comic Book Girl 19 with her epic videos, and you seen like these, like I never would have thought I could get a video with 100,000, 10,000 views. I never thought that I can get a video. I didn't come out to do it like that, but now it's so many people out there doing this, and that's a great thing. It's people, but I would never want to go back to where it was just a couple of people out there. That's I hate that. I hate being in the bubble. I like it with more people. The more people, the merrier. It's always better as long as it's respectful people and people who respect the people who were there before them and the people who were there during them. It's the people who don't have any respect, the people who go out there just trying to earn a buck. I'll step on whoever's toes. I'm just trying to make this money. And there's a lot of people out there who really don't want to be a part of fandom, don't care about being a part of fandom. They know that this is the way to get views on YouTube, and they'll use this to propel themselves to do a different thing. This is the hot thing right now. And when this series is over, they'll be on to doing something else, and we'll be good and ready to get rid of those people when they do. But as for the majority of people, I think that all the YouTubers all bring interesting takes and their own unique takes. And I've learned from a lot of new YouTubers. I wouldn't have been able to get to 26,000 subscribers right now without the knowledge from these other YouTubers. So I've never been able to do that. So I learned from them. Like when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. But you look and you see, I said, hey, who's getting a lot of views out here? I did what I did, but I'm not getting a lot of views. So who's getting a lot of views? So we got Shift Alt X and we got Preston. So I see them and I hear the way they're talking. So I said, maybe I can't be myself. Maybe I have to try to sound more buttoned up. So if you look into a lot of my first videos, I really tried my best to try to sound, buttoned up as much as I can because of that. But when I met Phil, the issues guy, and I seen him, and I was like, look at this guy. He's not afraid to be who he is. He could just be himself. He could be silly, and people respect him for it. I said, why can't I just be myself? Why can't I just act why can't I talk like I talk to my friends? Why can't I just talk like I'm having a beer with someone, just talking about Game of Thrones and be myself and just talking the way of my accent and the way I do? And then that's when I stopped. And that's when I just started doing me and not worrying about how I sound or trying to do something else, and just did my own thing. And I got a lot of criticism for it, but I think I got more positive reaction for it than criticism.
Well, I think that, that's interesting that you said that you were trying to be more buttoned up and stuff like that. I think that probably, like we were talking about before, that, yeah, I mean, your videos date back to 2013, which I can't find really any other current relevant content creator that has been covering Thrones for that long. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of the influences of us newer creators have maybe stopped making it because I think all their fan base that they really appreciated became creators, and they kind of got a little bit discouraged with what the fan base had become. It seems Comic Book Girl 19 has definitely, fallen off from just having any type of passion or connection, it seems. And it's kind of sad from what she started. I'm not saying that, I mean, I am the fan base, I am the new age, but it seems like she is not in line with it. She just has stopped doing it. And it's sad because if you talk to any prominent creator, really any content creator, they're always going to list her.
And she's got a Lannister line tattooed on her body.
I know.
So that's how sad it is that she loved it that much, and the fandom drove her away from doing it. But it's fucked up.
But I saw your first video that was up, and what I was saying was that it doesn't seem like you ever strayed too far from who you are, because I feel that just like Phil, I think I never really thought of that comparison, but because he is an entertainer. That's why Phil is so good at live streaming, because he doesn't need to be an authority on every single topic. Like he'll be the first to say when he covers Vikings or something that he's going to mispronounce a lot of the names, which most of us do. Some are better than others, but no, he's an entertainer, and he's going to entertain, and he's going to, be a part of the conversation. Same with you. You've always had the chat. I don't know if you can do it for it. You've always had that. You've always, I don't know if it's the New York in you, because I don't claim to know a lot about New York, but I know that people that are from New York, that New York is a part of everything they do. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that you stick out for me as an entertainer when I think about content creators. When I think about content creators that are entertainers, I do think Tony Teflon. And I would, even if I didn't have these few interactions with you that were off camera, maybe doubt if that is how you act off camera. You know what I mean?
I am an entertainer. And let me break that down. I'm me. I'm always going to be me. I can't fake that. You know what I mean? So what I meant was, like, I didn't, I tried not to use as much slang as I normally use in my real life. You know what I mean? I tried to, not curse as much as I would normally do in my real life. I tried to present my stuff. And now my first videos, of course, no, they weren't there yet. So it was just me. So you had to go wait a year or so until they came out and started blowing up. And then that's when I said, all right, this is what people like. I have to give the people what they like. They like a more buttoned up sound approach. They want to hear, clear, concise. That was Shift Alt X's thing. Clear, concise, Game of Thrones explained. You know what I mean? I always took it like a slight towards me. I'm sure it wasn't, because I'm like, damn, I'm the anti-Shift Alt X. I ain't clear, I ain't concise about shit. I just say what the fuck I want to say, and either it works or it doesn't. You know what I mean? So it was just like I think, hey, maybe I should try to write things down a little bit more. Maybe I should try it. And I started doing a couple of more scripted things. And that's not me. I'm really not a scripted dude. I can't script shit. I'm not into that. I remember when going back to Shift Old X, when a Patreon thing just started, I had no idea how to do it. So I went to his Patreon page, and I seen how he had all his stuff. So I fucking just about almost copied his shit verbatim. Almost verbatim. I put down everything he put down. But I didn't really pay attention to it. You know what I mean? I was just putting it down. So then I got contacted by a Patreon, and they were saying, hey, we want to go over some of your scripts. I'm like, what do you mean scripts? They're like, oh, you put down in your Patreon that if we become a Patreon, you'll share your scripts with us. I'm like, oh, shit. I don't write scripts. I got no scripts to share, man. That's not the way I get down. I had to go and redo my whole shit and everything else like that, because that's what Aziz, that's what Shift Alt X, that's what these guys are press. That's what they write their scripts, they have their stuff, and they have it so well laid out. And I figured that's what people wanted. They were the ones getting much more views compared to me. Still to this day, they got a lot more views than me. But they were the ones getting all the views, you know what I mean? So I figured I had to change towards that. But then I realized, you know what? That's not you, Tef. You're not that type of dude. You're just the type of dude to sit down there, entertain the people, and say your stuff and make your points while entertaining the people. You know what I mean? So that's what I try to do. I try to make my points while I entertain people. But all that is growth and development on YouTube. And just like I said, if they weren't newer YouTubers, I would never have done that. I would still be holding the phone, looking into the camera, doing that because that's all I would have known to do. I have to see other people to see exactly how it goes. Everyone influences everyone. A lot of people never want to admit it, A lot of people never will. You know what I mean? They'll say, "Oh, I came up with everything on my own," and no, everyone, you have to. There's no way. Whether it's music, if you're looking at any musician, any rapper, any singer, you ask them, "Who did you listen to?" And you can hear the influence. When you hear the Beatles and they did that song, I saw her standing there, their first hit, one of their first hits. And there's like, and I'll never dance with another, whoo, until I saw her standing there. What that? Who? That who? That's Little Richard. Wop, baloo, bop, wop, bamboo, tutti frutti. Oh, Rudy. Who? That's him. That's the influence from them. They didn't come up with that who over there. You know what I mean? But they liked it. They were influenced and they made it their own. They used it and they made their own sound off of that. And that's what it's about. It's being respectful and taking something. You see something from someone and use it, but you got to be respectful enough to change it into your own thing and build and grow from that, and not just be a copy. No one wants to see that.
No. Yeah, and I nobody could accuse you of being a carbon copy. And then we were talking about before the stream started the Dunning-Kruger effect, that the people that aren't intelligent enough to realize that they have flaws, and you're showing that you realize that, hey, maybe I do need to button it up a little bit. Now, you had to have your formative years of content creation in front of everybody.
Yeah,
because you've been doing it for so long. So maybe people have gotten, a little bit more of a perspective of your, your actual growth than others. Others might be sitting back and watching and then waiting to join in the game. You kind of evolved in front of everybody. You did in front of the screen. I think that because what you're referring to with what I really think Alt Shift X and Preston and Comic Book Girl did, and most still do regarding them with their content, is they went from the idea of just doing what would be a rant video, because you went out looking to have a conversation with people because you wanted to truly find others that shared your passion. And you also just did something that people usually don't do on the show. I'll beat my head up against the wall trying to get somebody to just say they sometimes make a video that isn't the exact video they want to make because they feel that makes them inauthentic. They make some not real, makes them a fake person. But what I mean, by you might not always be the Tony Teflon, the Don off the cameras, because you're probably not a good entertainer, a good content creator. Because no matter what, if you're going on YouTube, you're an entertainer. There's something in there that wants to entertain. So you want people to see you. There's nothing wrong with making some adjustments, and you put on your best face, or you shouldn't be going and broadcasting your shit. You shouldn't be going on YouTube if you don't want to present something that you think people are going to like. So people that can't say that they're not always so happy, or they're not always like this, they think that makes them fake. No, they're fake because they can't admit it. They're fake because they're so inauthentic and unoriginal, and they've taken everything that they've ever done from somebody else that they can't admit to one simple, just compensation that they made in their whole YouTube career. You just admitted to going and looking at other people, specifically other people, and looking at what they're doing and seeing that they're getting views and yearning for those views. People think that's a bad thing. Content creators, probably not the viewers. They're like, no, I don't care if anybody's watching my stuff. That's why I put out on Twitter how much time, and it's so hard to really kind of, put into an actual number because it really varies so much. Does it take us to make these videos? I hate it when people say, oh, I don't even care. Demonetize, get all your keywords out right now, and then mark down how many hours each video is taken, and then justify what you're doing to me. If you don't care if people are viewing it, then why are you putting it on YouTube?
Yeah, you
why
don't have much of a life at all whatsoever. Nothing going on. If you can spend, because it takes, I'm gonna say a small video for me is 8 hours. Anything 20 minutes to 30 minutes to 40 minutes could be a couple of days to really edit it. So anyone who just has that much free time on their hands, they can get a second job then, or do something positive to help the world, save humanity, because making YouTube videos is not doing it. You're wasting your time doing that. So anyone who says it's not a business, it becomes a business. So like I said, I didn't start it off to become that, but you have to justify spending that time because, like I said, I have kids, I have other things I have to do, I have responsibilities. So I have to justify spending this time. I've lost girlfriends, opportunities to be with people. I said, I gotta make them YouTube videos. Yes, and I never heard from them again. You know what I mean? From it. So you have to justify yourself why you can make this time. And when you make a financial gain from it, that justifies you spending this time. Not anyone who says anything to you. People in my life, the personal life, just found out maybe 2 years ago that I had a YouTube channel. Like, it really took me all that time to come to them because I didn't want them to, like, one of the biggest things for me in my life, and this is growing up in Queens, this maybe me, you can't make fun of me. Like, I can't have it. Like, if you're my boy and we could joke around, yeah, but like embarrassing me is like one of the worst things. I'm liable to do anything if just to get away from that feeling of embarrassment, you know? So I can't have that. So I didn't even tell all my peoples, nothing like that, until like last year, it became like feasible when I had enough views and count that I could say, this is the reason why I'm doing this. You see, look at the views I'm getting. Look how many people are watching me. You know, all the other times I wouldn't have been able to say that to them. They would have been like, what are you doing, wasting your time doing this thing? What are you crazy? You could be going out here. You could be starting this. You could be doing that. But that was it. Also, I enjoy doing it. Now, so it's a balance. You have to weigh, this is something I enjoy to do, but it takes a lot of time to do it. So you need to get paid by doing it. You know what I mean? So it's a hard thing to really dissect, but that's what YouTube really is. Something you enjoy to do, but you can't enjoy it enough to justify doing it without getting paid.
And you just wouldn't go onto the platform in the first place if you didn't care about views, because you're putting your content onto a platform for views, right? I mean, why aren't you just recording yourself and watching it, I guess, with your family? I find it interesting when you're saying about telling. I still have not. Now, I moved out of the state where I was, you know, I'm not in Detroit. I'm not a club DJ anymore. I probably could get another 1,000 subs tomorrow if I, you know, merged my social networks. I still have not done that because I feel it will hold me back. I'll be worried about what the people that came up with me think about it to an extent. Now, there's some people that know. I find it interesting that you said that, but you can't care too much about getting teased because you put yourself out on YouTube. So, you know what I mean? Like, no, everybody has that. And I find it interesting, too, that you say that, you know, like, that you can show them this is why I do it. You know what I mean? Because we feel we have to, and I get that too, because it's like, ooh, well, it's easier. It's not the real reason we do it, but it does help justify to others. And it does justify once you start spending your time. And another aspect of this is once you start having Patreons, you have a responsibility to make content that is viewable, that is not just your rants or this or that. Because I think that's what we're getting to is that they like, let's look at Comic Book Girl's epic videos on each house. Those are like a building block for what we see now, a very simple premise that everybody does now. But back then it was just, you know, I'm going to come on here. I'm Tony Teflon and I'm going to, you know, say what I think is going to be happening. But they, you know, formatted it in a way because she had professional production help and stuff like that in a very nice way. And they bottled it up nice and tight and concise, something I have to work on. Brevity is one of my faults because I'm always looking at this big picture and I want to explore so many things that my videos turn into a fucking Avengers franchise. You know, I'm like, oh, gonna do the top 5. Oh, now that's 5 separate videos. Now it's 10 separate videos. But they put in, you know, House Stark, things that are bite-sized, they're consumable. So it's like you realize that you can do you, but you got to do you in a way that is consumable for your audience. You know what I mean? It's not.
And like if you look at my earlier videos, like you could see like History of Westeros was a big early. They were the ones who was out there doing their things. Everyone, they were doing podcasts, but I wasn't looking at it as a podcast. I was looking at it as a YouTube video, and they were always 2 hours long. So when I first started, a lot of my videos were long as hell, 45-minute long, half an hour long. This me's talking for half, and I felt like that's what I had to do. That's what it was expected of me. But then it evolved, you know, just then other people came out, started putting out 10-minute videos and 15-minute videos. And then YouTube changed algorithms that you're supposed to have longer videos. No, it's better to have shorter videos. And so you adapt. And anyone who says that they're not adapting towards what YouTube is putting out there or towards what other people is putting out there, it's a lie. Or they're just not paying attention, or they just don't want to be any successful whatsoever. You know, one thing I'll say is that me growing up in Queens, like a lot of influence was rap music, hip hop music. I was there when it first was jumping off and everything else. And my older brother, when it was like, it may sound crazy to people now, but rap music was never on the radio, ever, never, not one time. It would come on at 1 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the morning for 1 hour. And that was it. That's all you got. And my brother, my older brother, would stay up, and my other friend Cordette would stay up and tape it. You know, tape it off the radio. And this is back when you had cassette tapes that were upside down, and you had to flip it over and to put it in and turn it out. People don't know about cassette tapes, but you had to put them in upside down and flip it over and hit the record button. And it was a whole big situation. But what I learned from being in that era and dealing with that is biting. Don't bite. That was the biggest thing. You could not be a biter. If you took somebody else's rhymes, if you in breakdancing, you took someone else's moves, they would come get you. You would hate it. You would laugh out of the community. So it's always like an embarrassment thing. Like I said, it comes back. So that's always been a part of me. I never would bite. I can't bite. It's embarrassing. I don't want to be embarrassed. I'll never be embarrassed. If I got caught biting and someone bit my thing, I'd be embarrassed. I'm never going to embarrass myself. So I've never bitten anybody's stuff or anybody's style to that level where I'm just going to take their idea and just put it out there and say it's my own or anything like that. I would never do that. You know what I mean? I think that becomes a problem when you're dealing with the business aspect. And as you said, people trying to be first to market with stuff because you're trying to get out there before everybody else because there's so many. And if you hear an idea, you may put it out there. Now, even when you're rhyming, and rapping, I used to rap and stuff, you could hear someone else say a rhyme. A month from now, you could be writing a rhyme and you could put that line in there. You forget that you heard it from somebody else. You know, it's possible that could happen. I'm sure that happens on YouTube all the time. You know what I mean to people. It's hard when you deal with someone like me who's been out there in history of Westeros for so long. It's hard not to say stuff that we have said because we've been there for so long. We've already had a chance to say a lot of things. So it's hard for these new YouTubers to come out there and come up with things, you know what I mean, that hasn't already been said, even though a lot of them have said a lot of good things that other people haven't thought of, that I haven't thought of, and I'm appreciative of it. But it's hard. They're in a difficult position coming out like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always, first off, when we have so many people talk about Game of Thrones, you can conceive an idea that is going to be simultaneously conceived by probably like 30 other content creators. You know what I mean? It is still your idea. It is their idea. I think that's where, you know, I enjoy content like yours. I enjoy the conversation. As a content creator, it's hard for me to watch other content because of what you're just talking about, of just the fear that, you know, you're going to like almost poison your own mind against, and you're going to be double guessing and thinking about what everybody else is doing. I think that there's something to be said for acknowledging that, you know, you have to look at trends. You have to play the game a little bit, because why are you even here? I think that the idea of like history of Westeros and stuff like that, like I almost look at it, I mean, first off, I think that everybody should hold Aziz in a very high place as far as this fandom goes. He was, you know, he is like one of the only ones that's there time wise with you. I think he was blogging before that. You know, I'm not like a close friend of him or anything. He's the nicest guy I've ever talked to. He's, every time I've been a part of any stream that he was in, very nice guy, one of the smartest people, but he puts on a different type of you know, show. It's still a show, but it is more of a lecture to a point, and it is more podcast formatted, and it's suited, you know, towards a certain group of the fandom. People like me, people that really want to have people that have dissected every little piece. And I think that there's something to be said for that, but there's something to be said for brevity. There's something to be said for style. There's something to be said for the entertainer inside of you. You know, like everybody's got something about them that makes them pop. I think that the people that won't admit that other people influence them are the people that are heavily influenced, and the people that are not just influenced, but they're being formed, you know, because the idea doesn't even come in my head to not call people like Smokescreen, people like Comic Book Girl 19, you know, even your channel, even though I came across you after Chris and I didn't realize that you were actually before him, you know what I mean? Like, I saw that you had a stylistic approach to it. You know, I saw the Everyman with Chris. I'm like, that's relatable. And then I saw you, you know, with my DJing and all that. I'm like, okay, he's got some style to him, and he's sitting here and he's hitting a whole different demographic. You know, like there's no shame in me thinking, okay, now what can I do? You know, what do I know? And what can I add to this? Because just because we have YouTube channels, people say, oh, it's all about the fandom. Well, we're all the fandom. All of us creators are part of the fandom. The problem is it's not a platform that's set up that's advantageous towards collaboration in any type of meaningful way. You really have to trust who you collaborate with,
Yeah.
especially once it starts costing people money. You know, like even I come off to people that I'm currently working with, and I think that, you know, it's good to have panels of people that don't agree on things, because that's what makes, you know, entertainment good. That's what makes people's conversations interesting, is different perspectives, not a game of who's right or who's wrong. And, you know, even recently I was just having a discussion, and YouTube is a fucking stage that lets everybody on it, which is so fantastic, but that's the hardest stage to stay on. That algorithm's always trying to buck you. So I think that some people just don't understand the grind, and I think that they don't realize how quickly one keyword could make them about 9,000 subs smaller. And it's that whole, the restaurant is empty, nobody's going to eat in it. You got to get past that stage. You know, I just went over 1,000, and, you know, like, it's an honor when people like you are willing to come onto my channel. Like, you were just coming on to talk Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like, that's an honor, because you aren't just going to waste your time going on any channel. You have 25,000 more people than I do. So it's not like it's going to do a whole bunch for you to come on. Not everybody's like that. So it's kind of a dance, and it gets a little bit competitive. And I don't know if that's the right word, but you have to be aware of people's situations to show the proper respect to those people, and to actually be able to adapt, because, like, that metaphor of nobody wants to eat in the empty restaurant, that works well in the real world, because, like, everybody has access to the roads, but we don't even know how the roads are built in YouTube with the algorithm. It changes every week. You know, people don't have the same access to some channels, you know, and there's also the evolution. You know, I think it's amazing when I was binge watching your channel to see your evolution, and that I don't know, you know, I could be honest, maybe it could have hurt you more than it helped you. And it probably helped a lot of people to see you grow. And then for people to almost, you could call it sandbag, and come in and take all the things that you learned after 5 straight years of doing it on camera, off camera, and put it on camera, a polished product. Yeah. Now, there's that aspect that I could see, and this is YouTube Confidential, because it's not a pettiness. You know, I think that I've been accused of being petty, and maybe, yeah, you know, I've got faults. I think that, you know, finally I'm growing a base, and I'm loving the people who are watching my stuff.
I just think, like, everyone has a way to connect, right? So, and YouTube tries to give you a way to connect with your audience. Now, some people are able to figure out this algorithm better than others. I had no idea about any of the tagging or any of this, nothing. I had no idea. All the videos I made, it wasn't until Gray Area, and I spoke to her, and she's the one who told me all about it. I had no idea about tagging, nothing. Didn't put a tag in any video I ever really made. Didn't know how to do it. Didn't know anything about it. She's the one who taught me how to do that, showed me how to do that, and I'm grateful, because if it wasn't for her, I would never have got to 26,000 subscribers, without a doubt.
And she's she's only been on for a little bit longer than me, and so you've been at this for 5 years. You weren't tagging for 5 years?
Yeah, no, I didn't know nothing about it. She's the one who told me the deal and stuff like that. So, you know, but it's like the way YouTube is set up, that people don't want to help you. You know, they don't want to see you grow. I used to have people comment on my comment thing, like, and they told me, like, I'm not going to share your video because I want to go and say that I made this up myself. I want to go and say, go to my friends at work and say I made this up. I don't want them to find you and know that I got it from you. I used to have people put comments on my thing like that, you know. So yeah, that's a good thing if they watched it, but it's also a bad thing if they don't want to share it too. So, but you know, YouTube, it's iffy. I think that, you know, Vanilla Ice sold a lot of records. There's always going to be people who sell a lot of records, but he's shitty lyricist. You know, he's not regarded as a great lyricist ever. So you're always going to have stars for any amount of subs. If they're able to come in here in a year and get 500,000 subs, I'm happy for them, because all that shows me is that it's possible. It's possible for, if he could do it, I could do it. Anyone could do it. It just, you just got to connect, and you got to hit your niche. I feel that I am where I have to be. I don't know if I can handle having 100,000. I would love to have it and see if I could, but I don't deal with negative comments that well right now. So I can imagine what 100,000 subscribers my comments would be. Maybe that's God trying to keep me out of prison. Who knows? Maybe that's why I got it. You know what I mean? But I just feel like I am where I'm supposed to be, and I think everyone is where they're supposed to be. And yes,